Hey guys, Mega Man NG here, and if you're wondering why this review is early in the morning instead of the evening, well, you can blame Smash Brothers for that. But anyway, we're now ready to begin another weekly Flash episode review. This week we're going to talk about yesterday's episode, Fastlane. So here's the deal. I'm going to be providing a summary along with all the info on the plots, as well as my honest feelings about it, what I liked and disliked about it. I only hope that this episode was a little bit better than last week's. Believe me, I'm trying to get that feeling out of my system. Anyway, let's get started with the summary. 2 years ago, two thugs sent some lowly schmuck to a tar-filled grave, only for the particle accelerator explosion to kick in. Now today, that same schmuck has returned for one needed goal: payback. There's just one problem. Barry and his team are on the move to stop them. At the same time, things within the West family become more difficult due to Wally's recent actions, especially in the art of street racing. And in the middle of it all is Harrison Wells of Earth 2, who's doing whatever possible to save his daughter, even if it means to betray the people he considers, or rather not considered, to be his allies. Will another tragedy unfold? And if Wells' plan comes to light, how will everyone take it? Will it mean the end of Harrison's daughter Jessie? Or something much more sinister is about to unfold? Okay, I kind of slipped up on the ending there because, yes, this is what happens when recording at 12:30 in the evening. It's not fun. But anyway, this episode, I gotta admit, is a little bit better than last week. And I'm going to be explaining each of the three plots that are there. And yes, there are three because the last one is going to be important for next week's episode. First up is Barry and his team stopping the metahuman of the week, Tar Pit. To be honest, Tar Pit was actually a pretty interesting villain. But like every other metahuman, it's just that motivations are rather bland. Though he was kind of threatening, especially since he can use tar as a weapon to burn his opponents alive. Good thing he wasn't able to burn the Flash though. It was actually a pretty good episode, and I like how the team was able to work together to stop him. Though the way how it ended was rather underwhelming. There was some good action, and there was some comedy to help balance it, but it also added a bit of darkness into it, which is involving the third plot. Not to mention the second plot, I don't really know if it's better or worse than last week, but things, however, gotten a bit interesting in the West family plot. To be fair, I'm surprised that the West family plot doesn't take up as much time. Sometimes it takes like half an episode to do it. But hey, you get what you got. However, in this case, it's more interesting because Iris is really daring. Iris is really determined to save her brother Wally from any danger. And yes, being a journalist is proof of that. She investigates, and sometimes she ends up in hot water with what she went through recently, especially with the guy in charge of the street races. She needs to be careful. And the fact that she almost died in the episode was a surprise. Good thing she survived, but yeah, she should have stay away from this sort of thing. Because like what Wally said in the scene, if Iris continues to go too deep, Wally won't be able to save her. And yes, Iris's mother, Francine, has passed on, which has left a lot of effects throughout the entire family. Especially Joe, who's really emotional through all this. His actor did a great job. And Wally is a bit hard to say. Yes, he is street racing, but my guess is that he's doing this just to make the pain go away. Yes, Wally did have a mother in his life, but it wasn't as much. He didn't even have a father, and it's that was just sad. I really feel bad for Wally, though, and I also feel bad for Iris, like I mentioned in the scene which overlapped with the first plot involving Tar Pit. She nearly died, but thankfully it took that to at least have Wally come to his senses. I'm happy for that, and the only thing I hope for is that Wally can be there for his family, for his sister, and for his father, because without them, I don't know what Wally would do. And now this brings me to the third plot, and this plot right here is actually very shocking, but it goes to show how far he's willing to go. Yes, it involves Harrison Wells of Earth 2 helping Zoom and his betrayal being exposed. Yes, you notice all throughout the episode that Harrison Wells was hard at work to basically help Zoom. If you guys remember in the mid-season finale, he had no choice because if he didn't, he would end up losing his daughter. And to him, his daughter is important. More important than anything you can imagine. Man, when I saw him having siphoned Barry's speed, It was shocking, and when Zoom injected it with the speed, it felt exhilarating, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough. And Harrison Wells learned the hard way. You don't mess with Zoom, and he suffered a lot of pain for it. And when his betrayal was exposed, everyone was shocked, even Barry, but Barry knew this was going to happen. Joe West wasn't going to take it, neither was Cisco, and neither was Caitlin. There was, and speaking of Cisco and Caitlin, there was like a nod to Arrow with them mentioning Felicity Smoke, and it got Cisco rather upset. It was funny. It was just hilarious. But yeah, it goes to show that they make nods to other shows and vice versa, like Arrow and I think Legends of Tomorrow. But speaking of which, back on the subject of the third plot, yeah, it was something that was too predictable, but it was done in such a manner that it was good. It was really good, and it helped set up what's going to happen for next week's episode. Harrison got what was coming, but at least Joe exercised a bit of restraint because of what happened to Iris. And now, after a revelation, yeah, there was a bit at the end when Barry asked everyone what would Wells do if they were in his predicament. What would they do? And they would do the exact same thing. They would do anything to protect those that matters. In the case of Harrison Wells, his daughter Jessie. And now, next week, it's setting things up for the eventual two-parter, which is going to take the gang to Earth 2. And I am really excited for it. Overall, I really did enjoy this episode a lot. It was very good. You had a lot of good action. There was some good humor, good character development, especially for Wally and Joe. And Harrison Wells finally got what's coming to him. At the same time, we saw just how threatening Zoom can be. Just a simple touch using the speed that he has basically kind of crippled him, hurt him hard. And not to mention, at the end, Joe punched Tar Pit for Iris. It just made me want to cheer for him. It was just great. And my rating for it? Yes, this is what happens when I have to record at 12:30 at night, but what can you do? I give this episode an 8 out of 10. It is a great episode, and the West family subplot wasn't that bad, but at least things are actually moving forward, with at least Wally actually doing something right for a change. Thank goodness for that. If I were to find any flaws, it's just that the metahuman of the week, Tar Pit, wasn't really that interesting. Just some guy who wants revenge. Just too cliche. And the way he went down was also anticlimactic, using noxious grenades to take him down when he's in that monster form. By the way, the monster form design was very cool and very scary. I liked it. Overall was very good, and next week's episode is gonna be grand. I really mean it's grand. Next week, the gang is heading off to Earth 2, and this is going to bring some crazy stuff. Not to mention to see what their other counterparts would be doing around that time in Earth 2. All the more reason for me to be curious. If we'll ever see Jessie quick, I hope they can be able to rescue her from Zoom. But anyway, that's it for this episode review. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please be sure to hit the like button. It really does mean a lot to me, and if you're not hitting the like button, then you should anyway. It helps. Trust me. All right, I'll see you guys next week for when we do the first of the Earth 2 two-parter. Welcome to Earth 2. See you then. Peace out.